Hi, everybody. Welcome to School of Scarlet. I'm so happy to have you here today. Today, we're going to be talking about these seasons. So, stay tuned to the very end. We're going to be going through all the seasons of our life, our spiritual seasons, and what they mean, all the way to getting to the harvest season. So, this video is coming from my recent trip to Detroit. And while I was there, I got to see all the beautiful fall leaves, the changing colors. It was very beautiful to see autumn or fall in its season, right? So seasons are beautiful because seasons you can't stop them. They're just happening. So as much as we could feel that the cold was starting. That last week that we were there, or the last few days that we were there, was actually getting colder and colder and colder. Up until the next day that we were actually flying out, it was supposed to snow. And it did snow. It snowed about 6 inches after we left. But right before that, I really was feeling like, oh, it's getting too cold. Like, kind of wanting to resist that coldness that's coming and resisting the coldness that's happening there. So that's what was kind of arising for me. And it kind of brought on an insight for me that seasons, you can't stop them. No matter what you feel, what you want, don't want, they're going to happen. We can't control the weather, we can't control the seasons. And seasons are happening everywhere. They're not just in the changing seasons of our earth. They're in the seasons of our human experience. They're in the seasons of our spiritual life. So, I'm going to be talking about those areas and telling you about what I experienced through my journey and how I perceive seasons now, and how I'm seeing that the harvest season is the season that is the most beautiful. So it's not that it's the most beautiful, but it's the season that you actually get to reap your harvest, right? And really get to enjoy the fruits of your labor. So for that reason, it is special. But each season has its own reasons, its own special kind of reasons for existing, right? And so we can see this playing out in nature. We can see this playing out in, anything really that we look at has a season, a cycle of a life, death, and rebirth. And so I'm going to be talking about that here today. So stay tuned to the very end where we will get to that harvest season. And I'll really get to express with you why I prefer the harvest season as my favorite season. So to start off, we'll start off with winter. Winter is really that stretching season. So it's the first season that we experience here as humans or in our spiritual life. So you can equate this to your human life, your spiritual life, really anything. But here I'm talking more spiritually and humanistically, what we are here expressing. So, in those terms, the winter season is this kind of stretching period. And it's the seasons where we are young, where we are being kind of exposed to this new world, what's happening, trying to understand what's happening, trying to make our own way. We're being stretched, we're being pulled, we're being expanded in some ways. The whole process is expanding you. But in that stretching season, you're going to experience some things that don't make a lot of sense, that are hard, that happen and have to get you to grow. Season is a season of a lot of internal work as well. During this time, the heart knows exactly who you are, what character and what you're aligning with currently. So it knows the rest of your timeline, it knows the rest of your journey, and it knows what's going to unfold. So it's going to be bringing for you a lot of experiences and life experiences that will test you, grow you, stretch you, expand you into the character traits that you need to be that character that's going to do whatever it is that's on that timeline. So your heart already knows that. That's the intelligence, that's the knowledge that's already there. And so you can't see that. You don't know that, but it's already here and now happening. So in this season, the winter season of stretching, a lot of times we get upset. We get upset with life. We don't understand life. We even curse God. Like, why is this happening to us? We don't believe this. Why could this be happening? No one loves us. God's not here. All of these thoughts and things will come in. And this is what usually when we're younger in age. that we have this kind of thing going on, but the seasons can last however long. They are very different depending on each individual, but this is the first one. So, generally we are younger. So, this would be your younger season. And all of the other ones to come, it's going to really vary depending on how long you've been in any one season. So, this season really is not a bad thing. This is pretty much like your priming or your prepping season for what it is that is to come. And so it's very necessary that these things happen and these life experiences unfold. If we really look at our lives and the things that have happened, I know that I can look at my life, and I think I've talked a little bit about it before. Every single experience, every single job, every single relationship, every single unfolding that happened for me at this point now, because I'm now more into the harvest season, I can look back and, like I talked about in my other video, connect the dots and really see that each one of those experiences was very much needed to be the character and have the experiences in the life that I have today. And it couldn't have really been any other way. It's really this miraculous, perfect design. So it's amazing. So that is your winter season. Now the next season that comes is your pruning season, which I equate to spring. So spring is a time of new life. We can think about nature, right? We can equate everything that we're talking here to nature. So as spring happens, we begin to see new growth on the trees. There's new branches pop out, new little leaves. It's starting to show growth, but at the same time, there is still dead foliage on the ground, still on the trees. There's pieces and branches of the trees that look like they're dead. And, so there is still a lot there to be cleaned up, to be pruned. It's not just this fresh new life yet. We see the life coming through, but there is still things that need to be pruned. So the pruning process continues. This is a process of having triggers of more experiences, more life experiences that continue to expand you. But this is also a time that you can also reflect now. You have a little bit more discernment. And you can say for yourself, oh, this doesn't serve me. And that's where you would prune, let's say, that branch. This didn't really serve me in my stretching season. This didn't really serve me when it was winter. So actually, I don't need this going forward. So you would prune all of those things that do not bear fruit. You would prune those things, and they naturally get pruned because they didn't produce fruit. But they will need some pruning. There will be some action that will be taken. Just like with intuition, we wait for the next step, and then the next step happens and action is taken. So there will be action in pruning as well. And so in this season, it's a beautiful season because we're beginning to see that it's not just stretching. There's also new growth, evolution, changes, things that happened as a result of the stretching. Okay, so then we're going to go and move on a little bit further now. All of a sudden, now we find ourselves going into the next season, which is summer. Summer, I would like to call it a dry season. The dry season is kind of this dark night of the soul, that depression, that emptiness, that stillness. There's some beauty there, but at the same time, it feels like all of a sudden there's no emotions. There's no more interest or passion in this life. You've pruned away things and you see life. You see there's something more here. And in your spiritual life, that's a sign that life you had in spring, that little bit of life that was growing, was showing you there is more to you. There is more to this. You're growing into something new. And so that hope or that idea is still there, but you find yourself in a very dry season. You find yourself very thirsty for something. And you've tried to quench your thirst. During this season is a season of really trying to fill yourself or distract yourself or find truth. It's the seeking energy, and it's very strong in this time. It goes from a very strong seeking energy to a very strong empty feeling, or kind of this emotionless, kind of stale feeling. So it kind of oscillates. When we get a little bit more energy, then we get to seeking. And then when we lose our energy, then we get back to this, which is just kind of, we're there, we're empty, we don't know what is happening. There is more, but we can't seem to obtain that. And so it's a bit of suffering going on, a lot of suffering, really, because I've talked about this in the dark night of the soul in some of my videos before. And so it's a sense of kind of shedding more, pruning more, but this time shedding something even further, shedding all parts of you, not just pruning those parts that didn't serve you, but now you see that what you are is not what you want to be. You're ready to give up this identity. You're ready to die to the self. You've really even consciously decided this. Everything is a process of allowing. So you've allowed this, but maybe there's some fear there. So you're still in this dry season. The dry season is also beautiful because you are so thirsty and you're quenching for this distraction. Maybe you go play video games, or maybe you go drinking, or you start vacationing all the time, or you're finding all of these distractions, but you go through these things and you have experiences and you learn. And what it does is points you back to yourself again. None of these experiences truly quenched your thirst. None of them did. So you go and exhaust yourself in the world, living in the world, as they say, only to find out that the world doesn't have what actually quenches your thirst. And that's when you turn inward rather than outward. You turn more inward. And that's the real dark night of the soul, where you're really in this cocoon. And in that space, you can really reflect internally to the truth of life, the absoluteness of life, what you hadn't been seeing this whole time. And all of a sudden, you can now begin to feel like you're quenching your thirst. And you begin to drink of this water. And all of a sudden, it feels like love. It feels like peace. And things begin to transform. Things begin to change. Before you know it, you find yourself in a new season. This season will be fall or autumn. I call it the harvest season. And in the harvest season is where you get to reap all of your bounty. You get to have all that treasure that you didn't know was there. And so this season is very beautiful, because while it is the final season, and by the time you get to the season, you may be old, who knows? Your thirst is quenched, and nothing can quench your thirst but your own sacred heart. And you've uncovered that treasure that no one can take from you, because there is no one. When you get to this, your eyes will be opened. You will be able to see the truth of life, and you won't want for life. You won't want for life. You're going to love life. You're going to experience life. You're going to consume all that harvest and enjoy the bounty, but you don't need it, because you know you are it. You know you are everything. And so everything you thought that was collapses. And this is death. So many of us fear death, whether we're talking about a physical death or a spiritual death. It's all the same. There's nothing to fear here. Even if you were a religious person and you believe in heaven, what is there to fear? This is the moment of unity. This is when you return to who you truly are. All that pain, all that suffering, the stretching, all of this that was happening, all to show you who you truly are. Isn't that a funny little game? I know it doesn't feel very fun while you're in it. But when you go through this, when you begin to actually follow your heart and go on that path, you experience peace, and you experience this present moment. And nothing exists outside of this present moment. There is no past, there is no future, there is nothing but now. And when you experience that, all of those stories of abuse, of suffering, of torture, whatever you went through, collapse. And all you're left with is this unsurpassing peace, this stillness, this love that is you. If this resonates with you and you'd like to partner alongside me to reorient to your sacred heart and begin living from that heart space, I offer one-on-ones, courses, and books. I have all that information in my description and comments. But I want you to know that you have everything you need right within you. And you can decide to choose that now, whether that's by partnering with me or by making that choice here and now. But you're free. You always have been. And it seems that you're going through these seasons. It seems that there are these processes, these ways of going through life. But I want to just give you a little bit of relief and make this a little easier for you. It seems that there's these seasons, it seems that there's these processes, but there's a little trick. This moment. You can erase the whole process. You can stop right here and now and just decide to drop it all and just align with it. That's how powerful you are. So you can go ahead and jump into the harvest right now. Align with your heart and begin to choose that now. I love you all.